Here we are, bottom of the Smash Mountain, and after having an amazing weekend at Pound in which I got to meet in person, and this was really exciting for me, I got to meet HOBORG, the star of the show today, at Pound. It had a lovely half hour or so of just catching up a little bit. I got to film you diagnosing troubleshooting a controller error, Jude Pasternak, for those who don't know. Lovely Marth. Unfortunately was having some, I guess it's pivoting problems in particular for his controller, and he's like, this thing won't pivot. And you are a controller mage in training. It's literally on your Twitter bio.
That's true.
Not only for GameCube controllers, but also for Borg technology, for some of your very own rectangle style controllers, including that one behind you. For those of you who are listening, you might want to watch today because it's a real treat. I got to hold that very controller in person because you brought it to Pound. HOBORG, I said so many things, but first of all, how are you doing? How's life after Pound? Just
I mean, it's pretty good. I don't know. I had an amazing time, as it seems you did as well. I have been recuperating throughout the week because I did not get a lot of sleep, as it happens.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's been pretty good. Just a normal old work week. Just getting back into the swing of things and trying to. Funny enough, I'm kind of cutting myself short on both ends because I took the Friday off to go to Pound, and now I'm taking next Monday off because I'll be taking the weekend to go to Oregon to see my girlfriend. So I got a very busy few weeks.
Are you going to try to say shout outs to people in Oregon like Connor, aka Contra? You going to try to hit up any tournaments while you're there, or are we just on business? Strictly business is more like pleasure. You get it.
Yeah, I got you. No, I will probably not be taking the time to go to a local just because it's a little complicated to go to one in Utah. But sometimes there's stuff in Portland. I'd love to go to a Don't Park on the Grass one day. It's a good time. It's a beautiful place out there. I'll bust this one out later for the fans.
Yes, it's a beautiful rectangle style controller with a wooden and also chrome button kind of. I mean, I don't know what would you say is the official finish on those buttons? What would you call that?
I mean, we got the gold and the silver. I don't really. They're just metallic, I guess. I believe the official description. I do love this thing.
They're beautiful. It's a beautiful controller. Just holding it, I felt the love and care that was put into it. You're not joking around. We're talking about the pieces of wood. You're sourcing that yourself, sanding it down, making it all smooth, and the buttons are so easily pressable. It's amazing.
I certainly did do a little bit of tweaking, but I won't take full credit because I definitely did not do the bulk of the woodwork on this particular controller.
Okay.
That goes out to my man Keith in Muncie, Pennsylvania. He does amazing work. I can plug people, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, my man Hardwood Arcades. If you need something like this done, he's your guy.
Hardwood Arcades,
the man. Thank you again, Keith. You're the man. And now he gave me the confidence, and now I'm building my own. So doing the woodwork in my friend's garage, designing, wiring, all that fun jazz. It's been really fun.
Okay, so for those of those of you who are maybe perhaps more newer listeners, I've actually had HOBORG on 2 different occasions where I said I need to talk about a hot button topic in the Melee community. HOBORG, I'll get you back on someday to do the full interview, the you story as compared to talking about whether or not the tier list that just got released in the middle of 2021 mattered. I remember we talked about that. Yeah. And I think also there was a poll that went out to the effect of, should we bring back wobbling? Should we bring back this, that, or the third? And so we talked about that for a little bit, but that feels like such a long time ago. And hopefully, aside from talking about Pound, we can get to know one of New Jersey's finest, the best Luigi in New Jersey, at the very least. And
certainly that.
And someone who plays 33rd at Pound. Great tournament performance. I sadly only watched sets that you ended up losing. I'm afraid. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I thought those were good sets too.
Sorry for that.
Those were good sets too. I don't know. It's a good time.
So I guess we can talk about Pound towards the end. We'll bury the lead a little bit. I do want to actually get to know you as the person a little bit more, because when I had you on previous times, we didn't talk about too much about things like your origin story or fun little isms about coming up in New Jersey. And first of all, have you been in New Jersey this whole time and playing Melee, or did you come up in another region?
So, like, big asterisk on New Jersey. Not even a big asterisk, but in where I started playing at college at Penn State, like I found the game. I went to the summer program at Penn State before freshman year, and I just happened to meet someone through a friend of a friend who knew of Smash and played a little bit, and it just sort of get sucked in from there, you know. You watch enough, you watch a couple of odds, your friends like, watch Axe Silent Wolf, look at this Pikachu give this Fox, and you're like, this is awesome, and then it just keeps going from there. But I did mostly start playing at Penn State, so basically a tiny little bubble in the middle of Pennsylvania. It's like it's in Center County for a reason. It's literally smack dab in the middle of Pennsylvania, 3 hours from Philly, 3 hours from Pitt. It's in the middle of 2 hours of Amish country, but there's a very strong scene there and a lot of great people. So it was a really, really good place to start playing. And I don't know, it just kept going from there, you know?
Shout outs to Saps, that's Smash at Penn State. Yes, a very consistent, strong local, and if one that you can possibly go to, you'll have a good time. I really wish I was able to go to one of the more, I think it was the spring equinox or maybe the winter equinox tournaments they had where they said out-of-region players will pay for your gas or will pay for your entry fee or something, and I thought, wow, I could bring my setup too. Will you give me $5 extra? No, I'm kidding. But basically, I didn't get the chance to go, and I felt so bad. I was like, oh, I really want to go because I knew that you were going to be there as well. I think you ended up going to that one, or maybe you went to another SAPS event at some point this year. I could be totally wrong, but I felt like you were planning on going to that one. Did you go to that one?
I went to at least one. I don't remember which one at this point. I went to Chic Smash Fest, but that was 2 years ago. That's the one I always think of where it's like, oh yeah, I went to that, and it's like, oh, that was like 3 weeks before quarantine. So I know that wasn't recent. I did go to something semi-recently, but I haven't been a good few months. I would love to go back again sometime. I'll be in town, but not for a tournament. My sister's graduating from Penn State, so. Very
cool. Well, congratulations to your sister. Penn State runs strong in the HOBORG family.
Oh yeah, my mom too.
Very cool.
It runs deep.
That's really cool. I mean, I guess that's a good lead in. Your mom says you should go to Penn State, you know, because I went, and this is what you can expect. That's cool. That's really cool. And when you come up, are you playing Luigi right away? Do you eventually see the Abate S2J set and go, oh, that's fun?
So I didn't start as a Luigi player actually. I usually say a year. I think it was a little less than a year, but I was a Marth main when I started because when I was younger in the neighborhood, I never owned a GameCube as a kid. I always went to my friends' houses, but I was a huge fan of Smash, like just when I could play it. And then when Brawl came out, it was the first. I release day. Every day at my friends' places, and I think I went from. I played Meta Knight when I started. I didn't know it was broken. I just like flying around. And then I played Lucas for a long time, and then by the time I stopped playing Smash as much before I found Melee, I was a Marth player in Brawl. And when I showed up to play Smash at Penn State, and I was like, oh, Marth's in this... Well, Lucas isn't in this game. I'm not going to play Lucas. And Ness wasn't my guy. Marth is in this game, and he's like top 3. Done! So I just played him for like a year. And there was some point... I think it was Smash and Splash 2 Grand Finals where Swedish Delight, after getting whooped by HBox in the set they played prior to that tournament, said, I am not doing that again. And Swedish Delight went Luigi and took one game in Grands in Luigi Puff against Hungrybox. And I watched that set and I went, that's hilarious. And I like at that point I was getting a lot better at wave dashing and all the basics. And I was like, I'm gonna try Luigi, and he was more fun, and I was learning more with him, so I just stuck with him. And I'm still convinced he is the character I have the most fun with. Period. So why stop playing?
Yeah, I think I do remember hearing you tell me something to the effect of, I have the most fun with Luigi. Luigi's such a fun character. Why would I stop playing Luigi? I think you might have said something to that effect in our conversations at some point, just because when you play the game enough, I think it takes a special person to play a lot of Melee. It takes an even more special person to not play a top tier or a high tier character, because Luigi is just not quite there. There's, there are Sheiks and there are Foxes, and so you have to deal with some of those really bad matchups, but you just keep trucking along, making it work.
You gotta. I mean, I'm convinced Luigi is good enough. I think he might be, in my head, the line for how good a character has to be, quote, viable. And that means a lot of different things to a lot of people. But I think Luigi is like tiptoeing the line. And I really like the spot he's in, because if he was any better, he'd be so much more annoying. And if he was any worse, he'd be pretty bad.
Well, what if you could just plug into whatever port you wanted and automatically have your Cyclone charge? That'd be nice, right? Because I was hearing you saying to somebody after your before your J Flex set, yeah, it actually does matter what port I get for this Cyclone charge. I was like,
yeah, what? it's even dumber than just port. It's one of the most ridiculous pieces of like Melee random trivia I can think of for a move, where basically the Cyclone charge for Luigi looks at like some garbage data in the RAM of the console when the match boots up. And first of all, you have to be a quote higher port number than your opponent, and by higher I mean closer to 4. I don't remember if that's the correct terminology. I always confuse which one's higher and lower. So just I say closer to 4. But you have to be closer to 4 than your opponent. And then after that, it depends on your opponent's character, the stage you go to, and your costume.
What the heck? That's so bad.
There's no pattern to it because it's based on the RAM garbage data. So it's like, it's consistent. Like, if you know one that you start with, it always starts that way. But it's like pseudo-random the order everything's in. Like, I have a chart, and I didn't know that it was costume-based, so now I have to maybe make a new chart for each costume. That's a mess.
And we're talking about the ability for you to hopefully recover better. So it's not, as if you have to charge it in order to be able to start grabbing your opponent. It's not quite that bad, but it's still just like, I don't have time to do a whole Luigi Cyclone unless I want to try to mix up an opening here, which once you get to a high enough skilled player, someone who's experienced enough, who are used to playing Luigis, and unfortunately, a lot of New Jersey is used to playing you, they go, we know what HOBORG wants near the start of a match, especially against a fast faller. That Cyclone's a nice little opener there, especially if you get hits.
You'd be shocked how often I get away with what I've affectionately been labeled the HOBORG Gambit, which is just spawn, drop down, Cyclone. And you skip the whole do I have Cyclone charge or not, and you just usually eat a counter punish if they know what they're doing, but a lot of the time you just start a death combo off it, which is really funny.
I love that. Okay, great. That's even better. When I watched, let's see. So we can start to lead into Pound a little bit here. When I watched your set with Fiction, that was on stream, and I was watching it with somebody, and we were both saying Fiction is playing this correctly, which is unfortunate because it just involves firing a lot of lasers. But the first thing I noticed, even before that, was you had the Fank tag. Shout outs to Fank over there in Lock Haven, who's a great rival of yours, especially for the RTB Online's Raise the Bar online tournaments during the pandemic. And you would play against Fank's Falco. It would be your Luigi for grand finals more times than we could all probably count. I
think I played at least like a dozen grand finals of online Sapsis against him, if not more. It was every single week I would play him in grands, and if he wasn't there, I would play someone else. Like, and it's funny, I didn't win a single one of those tournaments. I took sets sometimes, but I never ever was able to just take him down because he's just that damn good.
And so you were wearing the Fank tag, and you told me this afterwards. If I just have to think about how, if I can possibly get the edge over Fank, if I can psych myself up to play against Fank, I could psych myself up to play against Fiction. I can beat Fiction. There's a world. It could happen. It just didn't happen this particular time, but was still a fun set to watch, even if I was saying, "Fiction, you're firing so many lasers, it's so lame," but it's also the right thing to do because it just stops Luigi in his tracks.
I mean, it's funny, we had like a little small talk just before the set started, and I picked Luigi, and he goes, Luigi, I know this one, I shoot the gun. I'm like, yep, you got it. Bingo. And then we played the set, and he shot the gun, which is what you're supposed to do. And that matchup's hard. Matchup's really hard. I don't think it's hopeless. I don't think any of Luigi's matchups are, quote, hopeless, but I think that one is tied for the worst, so it's a lot of work.
Yes, because in my mind, I think of it as you have to get Falco off stage and exploit the... I wouldn't call it a limited recovery because, up B's a great mix-up in terms of choosing angles, and the side B is hard to react to unless you're ready for it or you're playing out of your mind that day. So I'm not saying that Falco's recovery is super bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I think that's sort of like... That's one easy thing to spot and go, okay, well, Falco's recovery is not Fox's recovery. I can get Falco off stage, there's a world, but then you actually have to do that.
Yeah, and I mean, first you even have to get close to Falco, which is a whole other difficulty, because, I mean, you can go on the platforms all you want, and, like, at least you're out of the way of the lasers for a second, but then you're above Falco, and that's a whole other problem. So, it's all about, like, balancing out where you can and can't move, and making sure you don't get too locked down. And then when you finally get your hands on him, you have to kill him every single time, which you can do, but it's really hard.
What I said to the person I was watching with, and I felt like this was like the meanest thing in the world to say, so I didn't tell you that at the time that we were talking at Pound, was maybe HOBORG should like try to power shield some more of these lasers. And like you could say that, but like there are people like Zane who will learn to power shield lasers because he just plays melee so much and literally for a living, of course he's going to do that. But you, HOBORG, are not quite in the same position of being able to say, oh, I could easily spend 8 hours a day playing melee, and I want to spend 8 hours a day playing melee. That's perfectly part of my schedule, and I can make enough money to support myself otherwise. Like, is it because... Do you think that if you learned how to power shield lasers a little bit more, would it be worth it to actually spend the time to do that? Or is it just like there are other ideas that you have for how to make Falco, the matchup, more manageable?
It's kind of a mix because Falco is a matchup that for many years as a young Luigi at Penn State, I had 3 Falcos that would always beat the crap out of me at pretty much every other local. I would lose to 1, if not 2 Falcos. And it was Fank way back in the day, back when he was not nearly as dominant, but he was still a huge threat. Alex Traer, who is now a Florida native, and Sly Pig, the Penn State OG legend Falco. And between the 3 of them, who all played the matchup completely differently, I had to it was so many big ideas of like, sure, you could power shield, but then he just shoots another laser, and you can throw him off his rhythm, but then you have to get in that split second where he gets hit by the laser. And I just think my game plan over the years has sort of developed pretty strongly, and not that I think I put on a pretty good show of it there, but I think it's a lot about understanding the spaces that I can occupy better. I don't think that power shielding more would definitely help, and I need to get better at it, because now I've been meaning to get better at it for like a year and a half, because I have a digital-only trigger now, so it should be, quote, easier. But it's still really hard, especially when they mix up their timings and their heights, and it's a whole lot of work to get in on Falco. It's not as simple as power shielding, but it would sure help a lot.
Now, if you were able to discourage the firing of the gun a little bit, where they would say, wait a minute, do I actually have to think about this? Like, if you get to that point, I feel like it gets slightly easier, but it's that game of chess, because you're right. They can mix up. They can fire from a distance, so what does it really matter? They could jump over their own power-shielded laser and fire another laser.
the classic, like, the new school Mango stuff, where he does it against Zane, where he does the low laser, and then Zane power shields it, and he'll jump over it and shoot a high laser. So, like,
Crazy.
Stuff like that. Like, so many Falcos are doing stuff like that now, and it becomes so much more complicated. Like, the Falcos that I have a really hard time going toe-to-toe with are cognizant of that, and they're willing to do the mix-ups, and it's brutal.
And willing to just keep firing the gun.
Yeah, I bet, like, on a superficial level, you don't need to play the mix-ups against Luigi. Like, obviously, you do need to do some level of, like, pertinent neutral play, but I don't know if you've ever seen this set. It's been floated around a bit, but it's SK92 versus Luigi Kid. And SK92 in Game 5 shoots. I think the first stock doesn't get taken for like 2.5 minutes because it's just short hop lasers over and over and over and over again. And I think he just catches Luigi Kid with a stray back air at 240.
Oh.
It's brutal. It's brutal. And it's that, like, obviously you can't just short hop laser, but you can almost just short hop laser. And it puts the onus on Luigi a lot. So, I mean, the laser up tilt, back air, down air are like the four horsemen of just destroying bad characters. Those four moves are, and Shine doesn't hurt either, but
yeah, you didn't even name Shine. That's crazy.
It's like here, like laser up tilt bear, like all those those are a world of difference when you have to actually contend with them.
The more I play Melee, the more I think to myself, why does Fox and Falco's aerials do like at least 12% damage across the board? Why do they all do that much damage? That's crazy.
You get backyard by Fox, it is like 16, and you're like, what?
Get hit by two of those and you're almost out of crouch cancel percent. It's like, what the heck? That's
brutal. The damage output of some characters is insane. I mean, Luigi's is really good, don't get me wrong. His aerials do like 14, 15-ish, depending, 12 sometimes, and like his smashes do 18. That's pretty good. Like I get spoiled sometimes. Like I'll pick up Pikachu and I'll be like, wow, I just did a really long combo. I did 18%.
Truly, Pikachu is the one who bears the brunt of the low percentage aerial hits because I think the tail might do 3% at most. Before. Yeah,
three unstaled, and once it starts staling, it starts doing usually 2, and that's brutal. I don't have the tenacity to get that many hits. Luigi, I can get like 6 hits, and that's a stock if I'm doing it right.
Mm-hmm. Yes. I think one of my favorite things was watching you edgeguard J-Flex in the loser set. So this is the next one that I watched. You do a nice, perfect, crispy wave dash back, and you throw out a forward smash. And I'm like, why did you throw out the forward smash? But then you still had so much wave dashing momentum. You grab the ledge, snag it real quick. And I was like, ooh, I love that.
I love doing those. That's a little remix on old abate tricks where I probably should do the abate stuff because he used to mix up his timing to ledge where he would do that and then he would do jabs. So he could mix up doing 1, 2, or 3 jabs and then fall the ledge. But I usually just do it with a smash attack because I just try and time my wave dash to ledge in a way that I like the stall. And it's really cool. I don't think I got to do it in that set, but if you do the smash attack, you don't have to just fast fall the ledge. You can like fast fall back air and it just catches like that whole space. It's really good against like Marth and characters like that where they have to sort of occupy a space somewhere in that spot. You can just mix up dropping with an aerial and just grabbing ledge, and they have to respect it.
Sidebar, have you ever played abate? Have you ever gone to PGH events, especially while you were at Penn State?
I went to a handful of PGH. I went to That Damn Move. I went to Fight Pit 9. I did end up... I've never played abate in a bracket, but I did play friendlies with him. I think it's Smash Valley. Of ages and ages ago. He's really good. He's actually the top Luigi that I've watched every single top Luigi just to like see what the heck is going on. Like I've watched Debate, I've watched Eddie, I've watched Voodoo Jin, I've watched Cobmaster, Ja Raiden, all the greats. And like I've watched I can see Eddie's reads are explosive and his neutral is so patient and tight, and Ja Raiden is like a task bot when he hits you. And like Cobmaster is just a wizard at playing neutral with F tilt. And I look at all those Luigis and I get what's so great about what they're doing. And I watch abate and I'm just like, I don't get what he's doing that's so special. He's just making the right choice over and over. I can't wrap my head around what makes him so great. He just is great. It's always eluded me, and I would love to. I've been considering. He's just started doing coaching, and I might pay for some lessons just to pick at his brain.
There you go. And what about Mad Tyro? Mad Tyro is a Luigi I had never heard of. Then I'm watching the stream setup at Pound this weekend, and here comes this super technical Luigi. I mean, somebody was telling me, just wait for the down B mash. I don't know if that was you or somebody else, but as soon as I saw it, I was like, what the heck?
He is absolutely ridiculous. He is the most technical Luigi, and that's not by no. He's the most technical Luigi, the fastest Luigi, in my opinion. Because I think, personally, I think I'm pretty fast. Blows me out of the water. He's lightning quick in every situation. His aerial interrupts, his cyclones are look like looking at like a task. Like he just floats. It's incredible. And I was so excited to watch him play this weekend because I knew he was going to do well. I didn't think he was going to beat Pipsqueak. He looked great. I don't know. He just looks so good. He's I want to say Indiana, somewhere out there, but he's been getting good for ages. He's been playing for like 5-6 years. I want to say maybe 7.
Thanks to Slippy, probably getting a little bit of Slippy power up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's awesome.
And he's I don't know. People are like, why don't you just do what Tyro does? I'm like, I simply can't. I've tried. Like he just has practiced all of those little techniques for so long, and I can't emulate what he does. I've seen like one other Luigi that does even half of what he's doing, which is Hoopla. Big fan. I played Hoopla for like once for like an hour. Big fan. Also moves kind of like Tyro, which is interesting because he's a box Luigi, which I'm the only one I'm aware of.
There'll be more, especially if they're buying the Borg technology controllers in the future.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to be the supplier out here. I'm trying to get everyone on East Coast a good controller, so help me God.
You got to be careful though. All the East Coast people love getting the upper edge in as many different ways as they can. I would say that the idea of playing to get better in terms of every sense, it seems that East Coast in general kind of taking the cake a little bit, especially over the West Coast in the past couple of years. These East Coast online brackets are really popping off, and NYC Melee Revival, for IRL stuff, really popping off. It's really cool to see. So hopefully you don't get super duper overwhelmed. I mean, I feel like anybody who sees that controller, even if they're a box hater, if anybody sees that, they go, ooh, whoa, that's ooh.
Yeah,
that's nice.
My goal is to make controllers that I can be proud of and that other people can be happy with. And I think from the one I've made for a customer so far, I'm on the right track.
Already. That's crazy.
And I mean, I'm working on here. I'm right next to my workstation. I can poke around a tiny bit. There's my little soldering setup over here, and there's a cardboard box with switches in it for me to practice wiring.
Oh, very good.
A bunch of little things. And there's Will Smith.
Before or after Chris Rock?
I think before. And if you can see down there, there's a couple of little wood frames and some aluminum panels.
Oh.
They're all in process. I got a whole little batch of them.
Very good.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's been really fun to make them. It's a lot of work.
Oh, sure.
And I mean, I'm not intending to make a whole lot of money on them. I just want people to have good controllers.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. Okay, so to finish off the J-Flex set, it of course, when you get far enough in bracket, you start playing against people that you played against before because you played against J-Flex so many times, and you're both New Jersey. But I don't know. I guess to me, I'm just like, it's a shame because this is for 33rd or for whatever. It's 33rd, right?
Yeah.
Like if the loser of the match gets 33rd, and the other gets to move on, of course, and losers. But it was still a really fun set to watch. You did get a game, and of course it's Sheik, another matchup that's Luigi has some challenges with.
I mean, I think traditional knowledge is that it's not very good for Luigi. I personally think it's one of his better top tier matchups, all things considered. I think it's probably his second best matchup out of the top 7. I think he does really well versus Peach, all things considered as well. But I think Peach and Sheik are fine. And I mean, I've played Flex a bunch of times, and New Jersey's crawling with good Sheiks. And I play Fable every now and again. I play Tommy every other week. I play my boy Crispy from Penn State all the damn time. That's the core of my Sheik practice for sure. So I mean, I've played a billion Sheiks. I've seen a million different tricks and traps, and I think it's doable. And I think I put on a good show against Flex. And at the end of the day, if I was going to run into anybody, it was going to be the king of New Jersey. I love watching him succeed, and I could not be even a little bit mad about putting on a good performance. And at the end of the day, he's the king of New Jersey. What are you going to do?
So then, for Pound, just talk to me about how this is going to be one of your first events back for IRL. That's a major, right? You didn't go to Genesis or anything like that, did you?
Nope. Actually, that was my second major ever. I only ever went to Shine 2017, and I was a whole lot worse, and I still had a blast at that one.
I'm glad to hear that. So but this is also the first time where people are starting to be saying Hoborg's the controller person. I mean, you have a controller issue, Hoborg will set you up. I mean, we were talking about errors at the start of this. Errors saying, I need help, my controller, it'd be bad, and you go, I can fix it, because you had a whole kit. And I took a video of you. You'll all see that as part of a vlog at some point to kind of just share the experience from my perspective. But Error walks me up to you because I'm like, I need help finding Hoborg, and you're gonna go find Hoborg anyway, right? And he says, yeah, you just follow me. And of course, you're like super decked out. I'm going, Hoborg is already so cool. This is crazy. And then you're letting me film you like tearing apart Jude's controller and then putting it all back together. Of course, the challenge for you at the time was figuring out what is up with this. One of the LR buttons was not quite cooperating, but otherwise, you're just like, you look like you've been doing it forever. When did you start tweaking around with controllers?
Honestly, the bulk of it, I didn't really start doing. Like, I knew a little bit about controllers, but I don't think I really got too deep into it until, like, some point in quarantine where I was like, I think I should learn how to do this more because, like, there are some great controller modders around. Don't get me wrong. Like, my second most recent tournament controller was by my boy Evil Labs up in tri-state area like New York, New Jersey, and he does great work. And I was like, well, this is great, but like if he's not around, and he's not always around, or like modders aren't always around, you don't always want to be ordering new controllers from new modders, and you gotta pay so much money for this and that. And I was like, I could just learn to do a lot of this myself. So, I mean, I started learning how to do the analog controllers, and then while waiting for my Goom Wave, which took a long time, as it did for a lot of people, I hit about, I think it was in, like, October, November, and I was like, there was a long time ago where this fellow from Lockhaven, Grim, he made his own box while waiting for the Frame 1. And I at one point I was like, could you make me a box? And we were talking about it a bit, and I was like, I don't know if I care enough. And I thought about it, and I was like, I'm still in my house all the damn time because COVID's like still happening. And I'm still waiting for this stupid Goom Wave to get here. Which I was like, it's the controller to end all controllers. It's the last controller you'll ever need, and I was like, I just want to have my hands on it so I can be done. And I was like, I could make myself a box in the meantime just for funsies, and then I did. And now I was like, I kind of know what I'm doing now. I can make these for more people. So, and now I feel pretty comfortable working with like I'm learning a few more techniques for working on like traditional GameCube controllers, but I'm very comfortable building a box now. And I don't know if you've heard a lot about the FOB GCC. Anything about that?
Yeah, so we talked about that very briefly, but the idea is that the controller gate, part of it is that the sensory for directional inputs is like via magnetic field as compared to other traditional ways that a controller like stick like motion is detected, where the benefit is that it's put behind something where there's no contact between the stick and whatever those sensors are. So instead of it slowly eroding and failing over time, it's like okay, permanent might not be the right word, but it is consistent and it stays that way for a long time.
Yes, and it's this very clever trick. It's not a new trick per se, like the Dreamcast had sticks that worked like this. Like, it's not a new idea, but it is new in the context of GameCube controller replacement.
And Melee, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a really, really cool open source project that's got a ton of momentum and a ton of great devs behind it, and the new board revision should be done sometime next month, they're estimating. And then once that's done, I'm going to be building a handful of test ones. If those go well, I'm going to build more, and then I can build people analog and digital controllers that are both really good. So I feel like the best way to guarantee that it's a good controller is that I built it from the ground up with my own two hands.
That's so cool. Panda controllers, get out of the way. All these other box people. I mean, Hoborg has got you covered. New Jersey and Tri-State especially should know. Hoborg has got your back.
Oh yeah, I got a handful of box orders that I'm working on, as I showed, but I'm excited to get moving on the fobs, because those will, in theory, be a little easier, because I don't have to make an enclosure for them. I don't have to cut up wood and sand and a whole bunch of stuff. I could just open GameCube controller shell, put on next controller, done. That part's easy. And that's the part that takes the most time on the box, so...
Right. Eventually, there'll probably be. I mean, I like the fact that there are some open source projects out there. Not everything is for all the controllers or modding projects that everybody has out there. But you mentioned how Fob, for example, the people behind that, it's open source, so it's not super difficult to get behind it. But hopefully, the idea is at some point there's just sort of like templates perhaps for everything that you would want to do with either a rectangle style controller or the normal GCC stuff, but it's not always easy, because you also have to know what to order, where to find it, all that good stuff. Hopefully over time, it's just like, I don't know, that there are more consistent places to get it from. Do you feel like it'll eventually become that way, or is there always going to be a certain amount of chaos in the do-it-yourself realm, in the modder realm, where you were describing trying to find different new modders for a controller if you're in a pinch, and it almost sounds like we're talking about finding a new mechanic to fix your car if your old mechanic either like retires or moves on from the shop you're used to going to. It's just like, oh no, who do I trust with my car? We're literally doing this with our controllers.
I mean, it's not unlike that. I mean, the landscape for controllers has been really dicey historically. I mean, that's the inception of UCF, right? Like, people were like, controllers, just unless you have shield drop notches from a reputable person who knows what they're doing, it's kind of hard to shield drop. So we're like, okay, we should this is the intent of UCF is to sort of standardize the playing field, level everything, make sure that your dashes hit and your ledge dashes are whatever, all the little things we're sort of making progress on the software side, but there's certain things that you just can't solve on a software front, or at least not easily. And over the years, controller modders have gotten better and better with these techniques and these methods for modifying a controller to do what you want it to do. And I think in the past 2 or 3 years, there's been a ton of really big breakthroughs, specifically with regards to the accessibility of building your own box, the available modules that you can reasonably install with some minor soldering skills usually. I know the Pod Collective is doing really big work with the heartbeat modules, which use resistors to reduce Pod, which I don't fully understand, but it seems like it works well. And I mean, now we have the fobs, which is open source analog replacements. I think controllers, especially when the fob is more robust, I mean, even in a month, in theory, they'll be done with the current revision, and that's going to be a very big deal. It's going to have Hall effect for both sticks. It'll have native support for putting mouse buttons on the front if you want a mouse button for AXYB, which is crazy.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh, okay.
It's a little fancy. Okay. And I think controllers are going in a good direction, but it's going to take time for them to become broadly available. Much like how the Goomwave, their original goal was we're going to do our first few runs, get them out of the way, and then once we built enough capital, we want to mass produce them and allow people to buy them in a more accessible fashion. And obviously there's been some road bumps along the way. There always are. I'm hoping that Goomwave can get off the ground. The boxes can be able to ramp up their production a bit, because I know Greg Turbo really wants to build more Frame 1s, and there's apparently a plan in place, but the chip shortage globally has been really complicated for a lot of these. And I think we're going in the right direction, where you can see a future where you can reasonably buy a good controller, whether first or third, Nintendo built or otherwise, and it can be reasonably accessible and reasonably repairable. And we're closer than we've ever been, which is crazy.
I feel like it's been just like how Melee has culture shifts that can take time. The controller meta, I mean, it's taken a really long time. Even if somebody finds a really cool breakthrough, then something comes up. Like you said, roadblocks are along the way. And so I think about the Frame 1s and how there was a run, I think, where people got Frame 1 controllers last year, and everybody was going, all right, when's the pre-order? When's the pre-order? And Greg Turr was like, hopefully by, actually, it's going to be, well, I thought, second thought, oh boy. And then it wasn't until, I want to say end of February, and I was able to sneak in that 2-minute window. It was 2 minutes, and then the pre-order sold out. It was like, it's going live on this day at this time, and I was like, I have to be there. Literally frame 1 to get a frame 1. Otherwise, I'm not. It sold out. This pre-orders. I mean, they sold out in like 2 minutes. It was crazy.
Don't lightning quick.
Crazy.
What color did you get? That's my question.
Okay, so this is a fun story. So thank you for asking, because I wasn't gonna tell it because I was kind of forgetting to. But basically, I know what I want. Okay, I'm just so basic. Look at what color shirt I'm wearing. I want a black frame 1 with black buttons. And so I say to my daughter, Ellie, I'm gonna get the black one with the black buttons. And she says, no, Daddy, you should get the pink one. And I was like, I should get the pink one? She says, yeah. So I got the pink one.
Hey, I mean, like the do they still do the light pink, like the frame 1 light pink, or did you have to get the heavy for that?
Yeah, well, I not the light. I always wanted to get the heavy, the frame 1 heavy. So yes, pink with pink
the
buttons.
Rose gold. Oh, gorgeous. If I were to purchase a frame 1, I would get the rose gold heavy. It's a gorgeous controller.
No, I definitely think it's more of pink and less rose gold looking to me. I don't know, but either way, I think it actually ended up working out for the best, because people on the Discord were saying, oh, the black is sold out in less than like 30 seconds, so I probably wouldn't have been able to get it. Then I would have had to put a new one in the cart, and then I would have missed out. So Ellie Ellie saved the day, I feel like.
That's true. I mean, it's funny you say that. I'm pretty sure my friend Crispy, the Sheik I was talking about earlier, he's been on frame 1 for a bit, and he's like, I don't want to not have a backup controller, because God forbid my frame 1 breaks. I don't have another box on me. So he was like really interested in getting an order. And I think he had the exact same thing as you, where he was considering getting a black, and then it sold out in a split second, and he made the snap decision. He's like, you got a rose gold pink heavy.
You gotta do it.
I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know? If you want to go digital, you gotta make some sacrifices.
Well, look, I'm not ashamed of having a pink controller, okay? It's not going to be the fact that I'm going to try to dye it a different color or find you and be like, Hoborg, can you fix this? No, I will do it, and I'll always have a conversation piece where it's like, why'd you get the pink one? And I'll be like, my daughter told me to. Oh, you have a daughter? Yeah, I'm actually married and have kids, and that's all, it's a nice little conversation started. Oh, duh.
Oh.
Okay, so I want to talk about Pound selfishly from my experience a little bit as well. So we can trade stories a little bit here. This is my first major ever. I knew about competitive Melee since 2006, and I finally did it. I finally went to a big tournament, where top players are there. There's lots of people there in general. I guess it's not as many as Genesis. Genesis had thousands and thousands of people. This felt plenty big to me, mainly because the venue was it was a little small at times. It felt very crowded, especially where the competitive setups were for Ultimate and Melee. Some of the table space, like the space in between the tables, felt very, very small and short, and people would crowd competitive setups to watch, their top player, crush the first person that they play in bracket, or once you start seeing your homie go up against the top player, all that kind of stuff. Felt a little crowded at times, which was not ideal. I was listening to the Waiting for Game Melee Stats podcast, and Wheat was saying, and I thought this was a good idea, Pound should just be either a Melee tournament or an Ultimate tournament if they want to have tournaments. If they want to have a bigger kind of regional or major sized event at that venue at Laurel Park, which is where Pound was this year, maybe not for Ultimate and Melee, maybe just for one or the other, kind of free up space, maybe a little bit. But anyway, I couldn't care less. Unfortunately, for people who have gone to so many big events and, are starting to become picky, I was just like wide-eyed. Oh, I'm here. Look, there's Zane over there. And I asked for a picture, and I say good luck tomorrow. And it was Friday, and I was like, wait a minute. I want to say good luck for the weekend, but I just cut loose, and I was like, I gotta walk away. The more I talk, the more I sound like an idiot, and things like that. I was really excited about the fact that after all these years of just saying, oh, I'm not going to be good enough to play, or I shouldn't do it because I'm married now. I shouldn't do it because I have kids now. I finally went. I was so happy.
Yeah, I mean, was it everything you dreamed it would be?
So it was fun because I am having a good time, but I hear that other people aren't having a great time. I hear about Twitch chat being super, super horrible, and I hear about there's a bunch of complications for the schedule and the stream, and people are just saying, this isn't going super great. But for me, because I'm so new and I'm having all these experiences for the first time, I'll eventually get to a major where there's air conditioning in the room and be saying, this is nice.
Yeah.
I'll be going to a major where there's enough seating for top 8 for everybody to be able to watch and have a good seat, as compared to having to crowd the stage and sit on the floor. And I'll say, oh, this is better for everybody to have a seat. But for me, I'm just like, this is so fun because this is my first time being able to see and hear Hungrybox popping off after beating Kadoran in top 8. I'm like, these pop-offs have different in person. This is so cool. He walks by, all of us are fist bumping Hungrybox, because why wouldn't you do that? You know, I'm having a super fun time. It was just also complicated because I realized I'm not the only person here. It seems like there's some other people who have very valid complaints or are having like a legitimately bad time. So I felt conflicted at times, but for me, it was a really wonderful experience.
Yeah, I mean, I felt very similarly, where I think it was a little rough around the edges at times. There were a lot of little things that could have been better, but I mean, the core experience, I had a blast, you know? I'm in a Smash tournament with all my friends. Like, how bad could it be?
Yes.
Like, it's just great.
I'll just walk in the room on Saturday, and Jude's like messaging me like, oh, you're here. Yes, come and find me. I want to say hi to you. I'm like, this is the first person that's doing this. That's cool. Because I knew I was going to have to walk up to a lot of people and introduce myself. I'm like, hi, Pipsqueak. I interviewed on the podcast. I'm Cypher. Oh, yes, I remember you. And, you know, that's a fun conversation. It was fun. Pipsqueak remembered me. You know, he wasn't pretending to remember me. He, you know, that was nice. That was nice. But I knew I was going to have to do a lot more of that. But then Jude's so nice. He's like, yeah, come and find me. I'm up watching the stream right now. You know, that kind of stuff. Oh, and Peen, Professor Peen, who you would know because he's 717, so I'm sure you've played him before.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so Professor Peen goes up against Mango on Saturday during round 1 pools, and it's going to be on stream. So all the 717 people that were there, first of all, the kitchen table warmed up Peen for Mango. And then Peen goes up on stage to play Mango. We're all in the crowd, and I say, what are we going to do when Peen takes a stock? Like, because he's going to be able to do it. I just feel it in my bones. This is going to be maybe not a set where Peen wins or even wins a game, but he's going to take stocks. He's playing really well today. What are we going to do? And they're like, we just scream every time he takes a stock, right? And I was like, I want to do something that's like halfway cringe, halfway fun. Let's just go, Peen, you know, instead of sheesh. Like, I was like, we should do that. And it was so fun to do because Peen actually did make it somewhat competitive. It was a close 2-0, as they say. Mango still won, but I mean, he had one moment where he shined Mango in the magnifying glass because he read his double jump that early. It was so fun. I mean, the crowd was all freaking out, and we were all freaking out. But that, like, you know, you just have stuff like that I've never got to experience before, rooting for my region's top player going up against a player like Mango. So fun.
Yeah, it's such a treat to be able to root for the people you care about. Like, I similarly against Mango, it wasn't. It was a little rough at times, but watching J-Flex Mango for 17th, which was a crazy thing. I mean, it happens, I guess, but like, it was so fun to just bunch up and like scream for him because I love J-Flex. I love him to death. He's great, and I love watching him play. And it was just so great to be able to like really put my heart on the line and watch him go for it. And like, he looked good. He looked really good. I mean,
did it interesting.
And about like meeting people, like I met a bunch of people this weekend, and I'm not one for sappy like thank you to everyone tweets. I don't usually do stuff like that. I was this close to making one. I wanted to say that the two people that I met for the first time in person that I was the most happy to meet were you, for one.
Oh,
easily.
Thank you.
But the other was Sora, who was an absolute riot to hang out with for the short times we did during the week, and he's super funny and just a riot to hang around. And we hung out for a bit before pools, and we saw each other around on Saturday, Sunday. It was just a great time. And coming to a Jersey local next week.
Ooh, let's go.
Sora and Pipsqueak got a stage select. That's gonna be really fun.
That's gonna be super cool. Yeah, I saw they went to the Fairfax local. I think it was wasn't it last night, Monday night? No, today's Wednesday. I've lost track of time. But basically they went to a local after Pound. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I wish that there's this world where top players off of a weekend at a major would go to a local maybe 1 or 2 times, because cheap flights are on Wednesdays. So if there's a Monday or Tuesday tournament, maybe, but it's just, that's not the current meta. It's just that Sora and Pipsqueak are sort of stuck in the United States for a little bit longer. So why wouldn't you go to Press Select? That's cool.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to Stage Select. They're going to...
Oh, Stage Select, my bad.
No, you kid. They're going to Stage Select, and that's like a warm up for. I wouldn't be shocked if they showed up at the nightclub sometime. They're going to
Function 2, right?
Function 2, which broke my heart. I had to drop from the Function 2 because the date they moved it to is when my sister is graduating.
That is unfortunate. That is unfortunate. But you're doing the right thing, but that still sucks.
I can't quite bail on something like that, unfortunately. A lot of things I can bail on. That one I cannot.
No, your sister only graduates from Penn State once. There will be more big events for NYC Melee. Ryobeat seems to be willing those into existence. So shout outs to Ryobeat and all the NYC Melee team.
Ryobeat, one of the GOAT TOs. Not that I didn't like Ryobeat before, but my opinion forever changed when at a nightclub I was dying for hunger, and for some reason a lot of the restaurants anywhere in the vicinity close at like 7 or 8 on some days. And I was like, Ryobeat, where do I find food? And he's like, do you like spinach dumplings? And I was like, I could learn. He's like, I have 5 left over. I was like, thank you, Nico. Thank you, Nico. And it saved my evening because then I wasn't dying.
You mentioned Twitter sappy shoutouts. I was also tempted to do one as well, and I obviously would have named you as well. But you get podcast shoutouts instead. When I met Sora this weekend at Pound, it was specifically to ask him for a picture. And we take one picture where he's still sitting down because he was eating something. So I said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I know you're eating. Can I get a picture, please?" He's like, "Oh yeah, sure, absolutely." And so I'm like, I can do this really quickly. In fact, the one picture that I did with Axe, that was so quick. I forgot to smile for it, but I was like, I don't care. I'm wasting his time. I just got to do it. Be in and out. But Sora almost grabs me because I started to try to whack away. He didn't grab me. He's just like, wait. We didn't do that right. So he takes my phone from me and he takes a picture again. And he's like, you should take a picture with my other friend here. He's an up and coming player. He's an up and coming streamer. I want to say Bundin.
I know who you're talking about, but I can't confidently say their tag either.
Yes, I can't confidently say it, but up and coming, so we'll have to learn to get it right because this person will also be known everywhere across the entire gamer sphere. But I know he was doing that kind of to big dog me a little bit, but I was like, I'll take a picture with Fred. I don't care. I'll do it. It was fun.
No, he's a riot, and I think that's sort of an Australian thing. The culture there, they're very ready to run the bit. He felt like he was living the bit every time I talked to him. He played Jude in pools, and he kind of gave him the business a little bit. We were all hanging out beforehand because we were all on the same winner's side of the pool. Me, Sora, Jude, and Fiction. We were all sitting there, we were talking a bit, shooting the shit, all that. And I see Sora, 15, 20 minutes after, everything sort of settled down. And he's like, yeah, you know your boy? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I crushed him. I absolutely crushed him. I was like, that's great, Sora. So, yeah, and then he hit me with he walked over 10 minutes later. It's like, you dropped your pocket. And I looked down, I was like, oh, you're kidding, you got me. He's like, and then he hit me with it again, 2 hours later. And I was like, I can't win. It's too good.
It's just how, I think Sora's just got it all. He's got charisma. He's got height. I mean, it feels like...
Oh, he's tall. He's very tall.
You just start speaking and you just go, yes, absolutely, yes. Everything you're saying, I'm, totally behind and ready to, tell me when and I'll just go.
Yeah. He has a commanding presence, I will say, in a good way.
Yes. How did you enjoy top 16 and top 8 on Sunday then?
That was a treat. I mean, top 8 was great. I'm a sucker for Amsa, so watching his run was such a treat. I love watching Amsa play well. He looks so good.
Yeah,
he looks so good.
somebody posted like a slowed down sequence from his set versus Leffen where Leffen tries to get a shine out and Amsa just parries it all cool and casual. Like, it happened so fast I didn't even realize it when I watched it live or when I watched it back, because I had to watch it back with commentators. I was like, oh, I need to hear this set with commentators because this is crazy. Leffen I don't think had ever lost to Amsa before, and Amsa's like beating him 3-0. This is awesome with the windmill and everything. This is awesome. I love Unfrozen Stadium, by the way. I'm sorry, I'll say it. I love it so much. I was so happy.
I'm indifferent. More. I don't mind when it's unfrozen. I do like it frozen, but yes. I don't mind very much when it's unfrozen because I get all the little gimmicks. I get that little edge over all the slippy kids who haven't had to deal with it.
I like it both ways. Yes, frozen is fun too because it's nice when it doesn't change around a whole lot, because you get tired of seeing rock and fire all the time. It feels like somehow those are the ones that come up the most, and those are the most annoying ones.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do about it if it's unfrozen. You just got to play around it. But there's a lot. My policy on the stage is I like it frozen. I don't mind it unfrozen. But if I ever fall through the stage in tournament, I'm going to scream. I can't handle that. That will be something that ruins me mentally forever.
Well, sure. I would absolutely understand if you were, because you played so much Melee over your life. This is the last thing that you want to definitively decide your latest tournament set is just falling through a stage. It just does not seem right in any capacity.
It just feels, I can't imagine how bad, like, I'm sure you at least somewhat remember S2J Plup at Shine, where he just down threw him through the stage and stopped him, and it was like, whatever. I mean, I think that was the only game S2J took that set, but like, come on. Like, come on. Whatever. I can't picture it happening to me, and I don't want to. It just sounds so horrifying. Oh.
Yes, so hopefully it doesn't, because most events nowadays are running Frozen Stadium, so that really shouldn't be a super big issue. You won't be going to Function 2, but you'll be, of course, hitting up some of your locals here and there, as you do. And you got to let these people know you're out here, especially with your controllers coming up. And then I would say, aside from Function 2, there are other big events that are coming up. Shine comes to mind, SmashCon comes to mind. You trying to get up to any of those events through the rest of the summer into the fall?
I would like to. It's a little complicated because I'm trying to move right now. If I can get that all settled.
Oh, wait, am I allowed to say where you're moving to?
Yeah, no, you are. I'm moving to Philly. Which is not terribly far from Jersey, so I'll still be around for Jersey stuff. But I mean, I'll be in Philly. I guess I'll probably be attending the lab more. Unfortunately, I can't make it this time, but Gene Dalla, one of the GOAT TOs, is running Creed later in May, and people should definitely be going to that. That venue rocks. Gene rocks. There's going to be great talent there. You get to be just in the heart of Philly. It's going to be a banger tournament, which I unfortunately also had to drop for my sister's graduation dinner.
I really would like to go to Creed, but that day is literally my sister's birthday, so it just do be that way sometimes.
We'll wallow together.
I'll be having Gene Dalla on the podcast to talk about Creed leading up to it, so here's hoping at least one person listening who can make it decides to go. Sorry, Gumball. I know you're a consistent listener. Maybe you could just... No. Gumball already went to Genesis when he was like, I'm sort of in the fuck it territory. Do I say fuck it and go to Genesis? Yes.
He did just kind of decide to go to Genesis, which is crazy.
That's awesome.
Johnny, Mr. Gumball, you're a maniac.
The GOAT. So I'm excited to see how all those kind of smaller regional size tournaments go, but then I'm really hopeful that some of these bigger events like Shine do really well, because it's been a while since we've seen those events. I mean, SmashCon Fall Fest last year was sort of like just a little extra thing. It didn't feel like a normal SmashCon, no Smash Bros. 64 combo contest, that sort of deal. So I'm excited to see how that goes this year with its like full blown out return and Shine as well. But I know that I definitely want to go to the big house. That's in early October. And especially, like, there's just so much history with that series, and it's more manageable to get to for me than getting out to California for Genesis. Although, obviously, I hated the fact that I couldn't go to Genesis 8. I would love to go to Genesis 9, but even right now in April of this year, I don't even know how feasible that's going to be as of right this minute. I just know that Big House, at the very worst, I can drive there because it's only like 12 hours. Oh gosh, it's a bit of a hike, but still, you could drive there.
True, doable. And I mean, like, even like Riptide is not terribly far.
Oh, that's true. Sandusky, Ohio,
it's like 7 hours. I don't know. It's doable. That's what I did for Shine back in the day.
I know I'm a real smasher because I'm saying I could drive that long, and also because I've done drives like that before for other reasons, for different things. I once drove out to Denver, Colorado. My wife and we drove out in 26 hours straight. No hotel rest. Yes. I drove for 12 hours, slept for 2 hours, then drove another 12 hours, and that's how we made it. I don't think I could do that again. I was young and in my driving prime, if you will. But I have done drives where it's like, yeah, we'll chew down 700 miles today, and we'll get down to Nashville, Tennessee by the end of the day. We'll get down to the Outer Banks by the end of today. That kind of thing.
You're built different. I don't think I could handle that.
Well, even carpool, easy.
A little bit younger, I don't know if I could pull it off anymore.
You know, I've heard about these smash vans where like they have a setup that works inside of the van, and I've thought, oh, I would never want to drive again if I were in a smash van. That'd be so cool.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Have you ever been in one of those?
No, I've seen pictures. I've heard legends. It's funny. I've been very consistent where there's always that question of like, you win the lottery. You want to buy one crazy thing. What do you buy? And I've always said an electric DeLorean. Because there's people that upconvert old DeLoreans to be electric cars.
That's cool.
And just pop a CRT right in the center console. Ooh. Ooh, done. Sold.
That's beautiful. That sounds like a really awesome setup. It sounds aren't they kind of like sports cars size? Like they're pretty small, aren't they?
They're on the smaller side. I've heard the problem is like the 80s like cool factor is off the charts, but I heard they weren't actually very good cars. Like they don't drive well, their miles per gallon sucks, the repairs are like
I think
if you don't convert it to electric, whatever.
Like, there was a story about how the DeLorean had to be restored because it fell into ruin at an exhibit somewhere in LA. Something. DeLoreans aren't actually that fast of a car. I'm like, what?
Yeah. They're not great cars objectively, but I mean, if you switch all the guts out for electric car guts, it barely matters.
Yes.
So
it's just like how you take a controller that might be a little bit flawed, but then you do something special with it and it becomes amazing, courtesy of HOBORG or other people. So to get in the direction of closing, what other thoughts or stories about Pound would you like to share, or anything else that's on your mind before we start to plug your stuff and get you out of here?
Man, I'm trying to think of a good closer story. Oh, I should have thought about this before.
No, it's okay. Why don't you think about it for a second? I want to tell like one of my it shouldn't be favorite stories. I don't know. It just is. It's just because it's IBDW. It's just because it's during doubles top 8, and it's already like 10 o'clock at night on Friday, and IBDW played pools on Friday. So at 12 o'clock, he was playing pools for singles at noon. And then I guess he had doubles pools and then leading all the way up to top 8 and was with top 8 with Fiction. And eventually, because I'm sitting up in the front row because only 20 people are maybe watching doubles top 8 because it's 10 o'clock at night and all that other stuff. But he sits down next to me for 20 minutes. And most of the time I can tell it's like, don't talk to me energy. So we only talked for a few minutes of that 20. The rest of the time was spent in silence, which I did not mind. I was like, it's very interesting to me that I'm sitting next to a player that I watch play on a semi-regular basis, and this is just happening right now. A universe kind of a moment. It'd be like, I don't know, the equivalent of someone who really likes stargazing, watching meteor showers for the first time in person. So all I remember in particular was just him being so upset about how late doubles was going, and when he was done, lost, I think got 5th or 4th place or something with that effect with Fiction. He comes back to make sure he gets everything, and I say to him, well, I hope you get good rest tonight, Cody. And he's like, very shortly and very frustrated, he's like, not with this shitty format, and then he walks away. He was just so done.
It is so like, you know, in your heart, like, it obviously these are people, like they're human beings, and you don't think about that all the time when all you see them is on like Twitch on the stage and on Twitter.
Right.
And I had that moment when I was walking up to the stage with Fiction, like, love him or hate him, he is how he is on Twitter. And like, I walk up on stage and we just have like a little bit of small talk, like before and after the set, and it was like, wow, there's just a guy. It's just a dude. I don't know, little dude.
Yeah, Fiction's very cool. I mean, shout out to SF. SF's a friend of the program, telling me all the times that he's gotten brutally like O2'd super quickly by Fiction. But it's like, he says Fiction's the nicest dude, and then I see Patty's tweets after Smash Camp. Patty's like, yes, thoroughly approve of Fiction. Fiction's the man.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really
humanizing.
humanizing. I mean, I don't know. I just had an amazing time. It's been so long since I've seen so many of the people there. I've seen so many new people there. It's just really refreshing to be able to like go in. Like, I was really happy with how many people I helped fix their controllers. I forgot to keep a running tally, but it was like 4 or 5 at least.
Woohoo!
Including my own. I had to fix my own box.
Wait, what's the issue? Wait, what?
My jump button was being funky, but it was just a wire not connected well.
Okay. Okay.
No, nothing big.
Don't be broken, please. It's like the greatest controller I've seen.
I would not allow this to stay broken.
Yes.
Especially if I would have the confidence to sell other people controllers, I want to make sure mine's working.
Last question. Will you make a Guitar Hero controller at some point?
Ooh, tempting. I know that there was the Luigi player that got sponsored by 69% Apparel, who does play on a Guitar Hero controller converted to a Melee controller.
Yes.
And I would like to do that. I really want to... The ones I'm building now are more like production line, like they're all going to be similar size, shape, etc., similar specs. I really want to take some time to make some really esoteric controllers. There's some libraries available where you can put a little heads-up display on the front of your controller, like a little tiny OLED screen that's like black and white.
You said
like
OLED
that
instead of LED screen. You're just getting so complicated with it. This is wonderful. That's awesome.
There is a module out there that I really want to try and take the time to implement. I think it would be the coolest, most unnecessary controller feature of all time, where dead center, right above the start button, it's a fingerprint sensor, and only registered users can play on that box.
Yes.
Which I think would be really cool.
That's awesome. Unnecessary, yes. Totally necessary, highly. Though, at the same time.
I think highly unnecessary, like vanity, like almost an art project box. I think those are going to be they're so doable. It just takes a lot of work, but there's nothing off limits. Like, the technology's all there. You can make weird boxes. It's not impossible. My friends and I were pitching weirder and weirder boxes. Some people wanted like a sphere that you just hold and do this with.
Yeah, because there was literally I don't know what to call the 3D triangle because it's escaping my...
The prism.
There was a prism style box controller that I saw on Reddit at some point in the past couple months. I was like, of course. They're just going for it.
Yeah, shoutouts to One Way. One Way is a controller maniac, and they're going to do some really big things. Keep your eyes peeled.
Very cool, very cool.
They're the prism maker, and they're doing a lot of stuff. I don't know. Weird controllers are going to get weird in a good way. I'm very excited, and I intend to be part of it.
Awesome. So where can the people find you, HOBORG, for more updates about all the things that you like to post about on Twitter? It's not specifically all just controller talk. You can also get all kinds of other fun stuff, but as well as where to find Borg Technologies.
I mean, on Twitter at HOBORG, just HOBORG. That's me.
All caps.
All caps. All caps. And you can find my controller doodads and shenanigans on @Borg Technology. And I would plug my Twitch, but I haven't streamed in a year. So
yes, HOBORG.fun, which is a fun little link tree that you got going on. I was like last live like 9+ months ago, and I go, aw.
Yeah, that was mostly to keep myself busy in quarantine, and I had fun doing it. I might pick it back up when I moved out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, even if it's for maybe like an online tournament that you might be tempted to enter, I don't think you yourself enter a lot because NJ has so many locals that are just happening on a pretty consistent basis.
I mean, I have no desire to enter online stuff again if I have such high quality competition
in person. Right, totally makes sense. I mean, I just love the fact that New Jersey, super awesome place to play Melee, and you also came up in Penn State, which is also another super awesome place to play Melee. You've been blessed, HOBORG, and I've been blessed to have you on the podcast for a third time, the three-peat, and we got to talk a little bit more about you stuff this time, which I was very happy about. Thank you for letting me share some stuff from my experience at Pound as well. It was fun to hear about your run and about how the controllers are coming through with the quickness. And so for anyone who's interested in getting into all this stuff, I would just recommend trying to get into the Crane DIY Discord, because I think you can find a lot of resources and other people who are interested in building your own boxes or messing around with controllers. That's one good place to start. Would you feel like that's a good place to recommend?
I think that is the place to start. I believe it's craneslab.xyz. I think I got that right, but that's the link.
Right.
That's his store, his link tree. It shows all the documentation. It pops you in the Discord where there's hundreds of people willing to help you out. I know I could not have gotten into this without the help of dozens of very talented people in that Discord. Crane is the GOAT. Everyone in there's the GOAT. Shout out to Ryan. Ryan, you know who you are.
Let's go, Ryan. And so I'm very happy to have gotten you on again. Thank you so much for your time, HOBORG. Thank you for coming on to Bottom of Smash Mountain with me.
Thank you so much for having me. This was lovely.